Like and subscribe right now, or this will be in your bed tonight. I remember from a very early age that my mom would just stand in the entrance to my room with a knife. This didn't happen very often, maybe 2 to 3 times a year. When I was 9, I finally asked her why she would do this. I'll never forget how she said this. She looked me dead in the eyes and said that I was a mistake and she was deciding if she should do what she should have done a long time ago. I asked to move in with my grandma a week later. Thinking about how she said it still gets my heart racing 22 years later. I don't know if I can accurately describe it, but every single hair on my body stood straight up. I was paralyzed with fear, and I felt like if I moved too suddenly she would strike. Mom had me when she was 16 and regularly told me that I ruined her life. She was a habitual drug user and alcoholic. She told me that if she had the money she would have had an abortion. I had a friend when I was a kid find a gun in the garage. He pointed it at me and pulled the trigger. There wasn't a bullet in it. He laughed. I remember feeling super lightheaded and sick to my stomach. I went and told my mom, who then beat the kid and told his mother, who then beat him also. Never played with him again. I was dating a girl who noticed I had an AR-15 hanging on the wall. She asks if she can hold it. Sure, just don't point it. She immediately puts the barrel in her mouth and pulls the trigger. Thank God I was good at making sure these things aren't stored loaded, because it just gave the faint click and nothing more. She then took the barrel out of her mouth and laughed. Someone in our extended family. He offered to kill my cat for me to save a vet bill. The cat wasn't sick or old. He was just very enthusiastic about helping us out with that particular issue. He's not allowed to be alone with pets anymore. This wasn't the first incident, actually. At a family gathering he took the family dog for a walk. He returned with the dog soaking wet. It was December, and he claimed the dog had chased a squirrel into the river. People didn't entirely believe that story, somehow. He also tends to just leave gatherings without telling anyone, sleeps in the garden instead of on the couch, and he rarely blinks. He is just altogether a little odd. He had a gas-powered pellet gun and we were 13 years old, and it was one of my first times being high. He had me against the wall and gave me 5 minutes to choose between him shooting me in the genitals or in the head. If I didn't choose, he said he was just gonna go nuts. I just kinda fidgeted in place saying, "You're gonna kill me." I was 13 and high, and at the end of the 5 minutes he told me he was fucking with me. He also emptied a huge box of matches into the sink one time, and when we all told him not to, he called us pussies and lit it all on fire. He was a major pyro. I'm pretty sure he's in jail now. I'm 19 and he's 20. We'd hang out a lot in middle school, and every day I'd be worried I'd say something wrong and be punished with some unique torture. Like the pellet gun thing and stuff related to my anxiety, like making me sing in front of his friends. I'm not a singer by any means. He just made me. We'd always play weird performance related games like have dance offs or sing offs, and whoever didn't want to participate, usually me, would always be punished in some way. I've been long-time friends with a sociopath. He is honestly like my brother. We have developed this relationship that basically treats me like his moral compass, but it doesn't always work. He is still manipulative and cruel at times, and he does only truly care about himself, but he tries to be a good person because he doesn't want to be an asshole. This being said, my most uncomfortable moment with him would have to be when he was telling me about watching some guy almost die. He was telling me how he knew he should have stopped watching and helped him, but he was too interested in what the outcome would be if he didn't help. It was creepy to know that as hard as he may try to be a decent person, sometimes he still can't help himself. My ex would say headlines. Headlines, which meant I would be headlines in tomorrow's newspaper because he was going to kill me. I dated one too, for 10 months only. During one conversation his voice completely changed, just went flat, and said that this was a person inside him he referred to as the brute, who, as he put it, simply did not care about other people. If I went out with friends he'd call me and say he was going to kill himself. He was investigated for the murder of an ex-girlfriend, and sometimes he'd get this evil smile when he was destroying something or playing with fire, which he did compulsively. My best friend in high school was a sociopath, though I didn't realize it until later in life. He was good looking and astoundingly manipulative. He could talk pretty much any girl into bed. I was always a bit socially awkward and never got laid at that age. Whenever I confided in him that I liked someone, he would target them and fuck them. They could be a nice girl, virgin, whatever, it didn't matter. He was that good. One of the most uncomfortable moments of my life was after we graduated and we were hanging out and he got invited over to a girl's house who we graduated with. He knew I thought she was cute, said it was a party, and that she had said she liked me. Well, we got there, and it was only her roommate, and her roommate's boyfriend, and I didn't drive. He immediately goes in her room and fucks the girl. I was really pissed off, and confronted him about it. Of course he made me seem like the asshole, and told everyone that I invited myself over, and made me feel sad and pathetic. I completely lost it, and broke down crying in anger and felt ridiculous. Luckily her roommate was nice enough to drive me home. That was his MO. He wasn't violent or anything, but he liked hurting people emotionally. That night was the last night I ever spoke to him. I still feel stupid for being friends that long. In high school, my boyfriend at the time and I shared a math class together. It was well known we were dating, so I would always take him his homework via teacher's request if he missed. He skipped a lot. I broke up with him over Christmas break. He cheated on me. Math teacher obviously still assumed we were together, so he asked me to bring him his homework. I did. Got to his house, wanting to drop it off at his doorstep. He told me to come in and explain it to him. He locked his bedroom door and started saying shit like, "If I can't have you then no one else can. I could get you back in a second. Just admit it," etc. Then the true kicker, if I killed you, or if you died, I would keep your body in my closet, or hung behind my door, just to have sex with it. Disclaimer, I never had sex with him, and I think that killed him. He then proceeded to try to make out with me, and jam his hands down my pants. He actually thought it was endearing, and had no idea why I was so upset. I got out, called my mom to pick me up, and ran back to the school. He lived close. Terrifying. To this day I'm still horrified about it and him. Last I heard he was trying to be a magician, looks like Charles Manson, and is in and out of psych wards. We were cleaning our guns. This guy pointed the gun at me and asked me if I trusted him. "Do you think the gun is unloaded?" he asked me. I could be negligent or evil and I could left a bullet in there. He pull the trigger, laugh, and carry on cleaning the gun like nothing. Though it was funny. Lots of uncomfortable moments, but a couple that stand out. He had extremely violent dreams, and would tell me them in great detail. He also would say things like, "I could rape you whenever I wanted and no one would believe you." And he showed me where he kept the gun he would use to kill me if I ever betrayed him. And he pinned me down one night while I screamed in fear and his parents were upstairs above us ignoring the whole thing. Months later, his mom told me they knew what kind of person he was, and they were scared too, but thought I was the only good influence who might be able to change him. It's been a decade and even writing this down makes me feel nervous that he could read it and find me. I almost made a throwaway, but he shouldn't still have that much power to make me afraid, right? The night I left, he called me hundreds of times. Literally hundreds. Filled my voicemail inbox with all kinds of threats, but then the next message would be an apology and begging me to come back. It was unnerving how fast his mood was changing back and forth. I drove to stay with a friend in a different city that night because I was too afraid to go home. This is a moment I still think about from time to time, though it's nowhere near as bad as some others in this thread. When I was a kid, this girl had hit me, kicked me, randomly lied to get me in trouble, and tried to shut me in rooms to keep me from getting help when she attacked me on numerous occasions. But none of that really scared me after a while. Yes, she was aggressive, but I was about the same size, so I could fight back. But there was this one time. We were getting along fine that day. She was being pleasant and fun. We were playing games together. It was a good day. She told me earlier that she'd been sharpening sticks to a point when she was bored, which for some reason didn't set off any alarms in my kid brain. After a while we ended up playing with some of these sticks. Can't remember what we were doing. I think we were just using them to draw and dig a little in the dirt. Time passed. Everything was fine. Two normal kids. Then she looked over at me and something was just different. I don't know what it was, but something felt very wrong and suddenly I was afraid. The second she started moving towards me, I got up and ran. She chased me with her sharpened stick, and I'm 100% confident she was going to stab me with it. Now it was still a stick. Looking back, she probably couldn't have done serious damage with it. But it was entirely possible she could have given me some nasty cuts, and no doubt she'd have done it if she caught me. While she'd never gone after me with a weapon before that day, she had hurt other people with scissors in the past. In the end, her parents stopped her, and her aggression had just sort of turned off. Like a switch. Back to regular kid. I think that's the part that really bothered me. The way she went from being totally normal to the scariest she'd ever been, and then back, just like that. Thanks for watching. Greaseball, like and comment. Subscribe. I love you.